local winds. So what do you mean by wind? Way back in Indus Valley civilization, we discussed about the winds, right? Okay, what do you mean by wind? The movement of air in a particular direction or definite direction is called as wind. How many types of winds are there? How many types of? Two types. Three types of winds. The first one is called as permanent winds, which is also known as global winds. The second one is seasonal winds, also known as monsoonal winds. And the last one is local winds. The permanent winds further classified into three types. The first one is called as trade winds. The second one is called as westerlies. And the third one is called as polar easterlies. Then we enter into the monsoonal system. Okay, you can't find the monsoons all over the world. The monsoons are restricted only certain pockets of the world. What are the areas? South China Sea, Indian subcontinent, Northern Australia, coast of Africa and Caribbean Sea. Okay, we discussed about the Indian monsoonal mechanism. The Indian monsoonal mechanism can be studied with the help of two conditions. One is called as southwest monsoon, other one is called as northeast monsoon. Okay, the southwest monsoon enters into India with the help of two branches. The first one is called as Arabian branch, the second one is called as Bay of Bengal branch. The majority of the rainfall in India caused by which branch? Arabian branch. But whenever you are seeing the Bay of Bengal branch, 90% of Bay of Bengal branch is associated with Southeast Asia. Only 10% of Bay of Bengal branch is associated with India. Okay, because of the Bay of Bengal branch, there are two places. One is called as Mysindram, other one is called as Cherrapunji. These two areas are considered as world's wettest places in the world. Then we enter into the, and also there is one particular state which does not receive the rainfall from the southwest monsoon. That particular state is called as Tamil Nadu. Okay, na? Then we enter into northeast monsoon. The northeast monsoon causes the peculiar rainfall only in one particular state. That particular state is called as Tamil Nadu. Okay, up to this extent we completed. Then we enter into local winds. Whenever you are seeing the local winds, what about the area of extension of local winds? Maximum of 100 to 150 kilometers. Based on origin, there are two types of local winds. One is called as anabatic winds. Did we discuss about anabatic winds? Anabatic winds. The other one is called as katabatic winds. The anabatic winds are nothing but upslope winds. The anabatic winds are nothing but upslope winds. Okay, then what do you mean by katabatic wind? The katabatic winds are nothing but downslope winds. Okay, based on temperature, the local winds further classified into two types. The first one is called as warm local winds. The second one is called as cold local winds. What are the example for warm local winds? The first one is called as Chinook. The second one is called as maybe Foehn. The third one is called as Santa Ana. Okay, the next one is called as Harmattan. Okay, the next one is called as Kamsins. Okay, the next one is called as Sirocco. Okay, these are the very very important warm local winds. Inga emana cheppana deento paatu? That's it, right? Okay, see here, there are more than 500 to 600 local winds are there. It's very hard to complete 500 to 600 local winds. I am restricting my area of study up to only the NCERT level. Okay, and that is enough for your exam. Then what about the cold local winds? The cold local ones is, the first one is called as Mistrals. The second one is called as Blizzards. The third one is called as Burans. The next one is called as Bora. The next one is southern bustards. Even there is one more important one is called as pamperos. Okay, there is one more cold important local wind which is called as pamperos. We are done with the chinooks, right? Where you can find the chinooks? The chinook is the warm local wind. It can be found in which place? It originates in the Rocky Mountains, and moves towards the eastern part of USC. These chinooks are also known as snow eaters. ఇంతవరకే కదా, we are done that up to that particular extent, right? Give the next heading, Foehn. Foehn. Write down. This winds originates from Alps mountains. This winds originates from Alps mountains. Alps mountains in the Europe. The next point, this winds helps for ripening of grapes, which is suitable for ripening of grapes which are suitable for wine cultivation. During winters. Wine cultivation during the winters. See here. ఇంతవరకు రాశారమ్మా? Now understand the concept. For example, these are the Alps mountain. Okay, it is there beyond the tropical region. Nothing but this particular Alps are located in the temperate region. Whenever it is there in the temperate region, what type of temperature you can find? Somewhat low temperatures. Whenever the low temperatures are there, in the lower reaches, the people are growing for a cultivation called as grapes cultivation. Near the foothills of Alps, the people are going for grapes cultivation. What is the use of grapes? The grapes are useful for cultivation of wine. Okay, now the cultivation of wine is also known as viticulture. The cultivation of wine is also known as viticulture. Okay, whenever the low temperatures are there, this particular area is completely covered with the snow. Since this area is completely dominated with the low temperatures, this area is covered with the snow. But from the upper side of Alps mountains, there are certain winds are blowing. These winds are helping to reduce the snow which is over the grape trees. And these particular warm winds are responsible for ripening of grapes. What do you mean by ripening of grapes? పండడానికి ఉపయోగపడతాయట. There are two important words. One is called as ripening, other one is called as rotten. What do you mean by rotten? Rotten అంటే కులిపోవడం. Ripening is nothing but పండడం. ఓకేనా? These particular warm winds పైనుంచి ఎక్కడో ఆల్ప్స్ పైనుంచి కిందికి వస్తున్నాయి అంటే these winds are warm winds or cold winds? Warm winds. Whenever we people are moving vertically up, what about the temperatures? Decreases. Whenever the same winds are coming from upper reaches towards the ground surface, what about the temperatures? Increases. Since these winds are coming from upper reaches of mountain to foothills, this particular winds turns into a warm winds. Whenever this warm winds blown on the grapefruits or the grape plants, whatever the snow is there, that particular snow got weeded out. And these particular winds are helpful for ripening of grapes. Okay, this is the importance of Foehn winds. ఇక్కడ మీరు గుర్తుపెట్టుకోవాల్సింది రెండే పదాలు. ద ఫోన్ విండ్స్ కెన్ సీన్ ఇన్ ఆల్ప్స్ మౌంటైన్. వాట్ ఈస్ ద యూజ్ ఆఫ్ ఫోన్ మౌంటైన్స్? రైపనింగ్ ఆఫ్ గ్రేప్స్. ఇంతవరకు ఓకేనా? వాట్ ఈస్ ద నెక్స్ట్ విండ్? శాంటా ఆనా. Write down the first point. These winds originates from Mojave Desert. Originate from Mojave Desert of USA. These winds originates from Mojave Desert of USA and flows towards Pacific Ocean. And flows towards Pacific Ocean. The next point. These winds are associated with forest fires. These winds are associated with forest fires in Californian region. In Californian region. Okay, these winds are warm winds. These winds are originating from which desert? Mojave Desert. Where is Mojave Desert? Within the USA. After the birth of these winds are moving towards which ocean? Pacific Ocean. While it is moving from desert towards the Pacific Ocean, it is causing certain forest fires. Recently, there was a forest fire in the USA last 1 month back at the place called as Hollywood. Hollywood, Perinara. San Francisco, Perinara. Within the San Francisco, there is a place called as Hollywood. Last 1 month back, there was a deadly forest fire. This particular forest fire is because of which particular wind? Santa Ana. Now understand the concept. Maybe this is the USA. In the western side of USA, what is this particular mountains? The name of the mountains are called as Rockies Mountains. To the eastern side of Rocky Mountain, there is a small desert. The name of the desert is called as Mojave Desert. To the eastern side of USA, there is a ocean. The name of the ocean is called as Atlantic Ocean. To the western side of USA, there is a ocean. The name of the ocean is called as Pacific Ocean. To the southern side of USA, there is a small gulf. This is completely Mexico. This is a small gulf. This particular gulf is called as Californian Gulf. Everyone is having the atlas? Open the atlas. See in the western side. Western side of USA, there is a small gulf. Identify the gulf. Gulf of California. Not there. You people are having the atlas. How many people are not having the atlas? Very good. Congratulations. Now see here. This is completely United States. To the eastern side of United States, there is a ocean called as Atlantic Ocean. To the western side of USA, there is a ocean called as Pacific Ocean. Some of the Pacific Ocean waters enters towards into a small landmass which is called as Gulf of California. Exactly in this particular area, you can find a one important desert. The name of the desert is called as Mojave Desert. Okay, now it's very hard to find in your atlas, don't worry. Okay, exactly in this particular area you can find the desert. Now understand the here. But in this particular area, the Rocky Mountains has broken. Whenever the Rocky Mountains has broken, there is a small gap in between. ఇక్కడ ఒక గ్యాప్ ఫామ్ అయింది అనుకోండి. Here you can find the birth of warm what? Warm winds. And these winds are channelized into small gap and enters into California. ఇక్కడ ఉన్న రాకీస్ పగిలిపోయాయి. ఒక చిన్న గ్యాప్ లాగుంది. ఇలా ఒక గ్యాప్ ఉంది అనుకోండి. Winds అన్ని ఇక్కడ ఆరిజినేట్ అవుతున్నాయి. Warm winds. These winds are moving in this particular gap. Okay, in this particular Rocky Mountains, there are certain forest. Within the forest, who is there? Within the all the trees are there. Every tree is considered as every tree is consisting of carbon. What is the main property of carbon? If you are going to burn, it is in no time it is going to burns up. But during the summer, because of high temperature, whatever the trees are there, all the trees are having experiencing very very high temperatures. Whenever all the trees are experiencing very high temperatures, it is become somewhat dry in nature. That particular plant will become dry in nature. కానీ ఇటువైపు నుంచి ఏమొస్తోంది? విండ్ వస్తోందా? These winds are warm winds or cool winds? Warm winds. Whenever these winds are colliding with the tree, it is exerting some what type of force? Frictional force. Whenever the frictional force is exerting, what it is generating? Heat is generating. But what is this material? Carbon. If you are adding the heat, within no time, that particular forest comes under the firing activity. That particular mechanism is called as forest fires. Okay, that is the reason why the Santa Ana winds are responsible for forest fires in which region? Californian region. Near the California, exactly here, you can find one important city which is called as San Francisco. Within the San Francisco, you can find the headquarters of Hollywood. Okay, recently it was under the forest fires in the last month. Okay, now this is the recent current affairs which has happened there. Okay, now, కానీ ఇక్కడ మీరు గుర్తుపెట్టుకోవాల్సింది రెండే పాయింట్లు. వేర్ ద శాంటానా విండ్స్ ఆర్ ఆరిజినేటింగ్? మొజావే డెజర్ట్ అండ్ మూవింగ్ టువర్డ్స్ పసిఫిక్ ఓషన్. ఇట్ ఈస్ మూవింగ్ ఇన్ టు పసిఫిక్ ఓషన్ బిట్వీన్ ద విచ్ ఛానల్స్? Rocky Mountains. These winds are channelized to move from Mojave Desert towards the Pacific Ocean. While it is moving the gaps of the Rocky Mountains, it is causing forest fires. ఇంతవరకు ఓకేనా? That is called as Santa Ana winds. Okay, give the next heading. Harmattans. Harmattans. The Harmattans are also known as Dr. Winds. The Harmattans are also known as Dr. Winds. The next point, this winds blows from Sahara Desert This wind blows from Sahara Desert towards Gulf of Guinea. Towards Gulf of Guinea. Towards Gulf of Guinea. The next point, these winds are creating certain respite from high humidity. These winds creating certain respite from high humidity. High humidity. What do you mean by humidity? The amount of water vapor present in the atmosphere is called as humidity. Now see here. See Nana, these are called as Harmattans. What do you mean by Harmattans? These are called as doctor winds. Which of the following winds considered as doctor winds? Chinook, Santa Ana, Harmattans, none of the above. And chinna questions ఉంటాయి, పెద్ద questions ఏం అడగరు దీంట్లో. Okay, which winds are considered as doctor winds? Which winds are helpful for ripening of grapes? Foehn. Which winds are causing the forest fires? Santa Ana. Okay, which winds are called as snow eaters? Chinooks. Okay, na చిన్నవే ఉంటాయి, పెద్ద పెద్ద అయితే అడగరు. Now see here, what do you mean by respite from humidity? What do you mean by respite? Respite is nothing but relief. See here, if this is the African continent, to the eastern side of African continent there is a sea called as, okay, don't write Arabian, Indian Ocean. To the western side of Africa there is a ocean which is called as Atlantic Ocean. To the northern side of Africa there is a world's largest desert. The name of the desert is called as Sahara Desert. The world's largest desert, the name of the desert is called as Sahara Desert. What type of temperature you can find in the Sahara Desert? High temperatures. Every day there is a recording of more than 45 degrees centigrade of temperature. But there are this particular gulf, exactly this particular gulf is called as Gulf of Guinea. This particular area is called as Gulf of Guinea. So whatever the countries which are sharing the borders with Gulf of Guinea, these countries are experiencing what type of humidity? This see here, the adjacent side of this particular Gulf of Guinea are the countries which are sharing the borders with Gulf of Guinea. These countries are experiencing what type of humidity? High humidity. Very, very sultry conditions are there. But exactly during the afternoon, some of the winds are originating from which desert? Sahara Desert. And these winds are moving towards which area? Gulf of Guinea. కానీ ఇక్కడ ఏముందంట ఈ ఏరియాలో? హై హ్యూమిడిటీ. Whenever the winds are blowing, what happened to the humidity? The humidity will be increased or decreases. What type of winds are coming from Sahara Desert? These winds are very, very dry winds. What do you mean by dry winds? Moisture is having or moisture is not having? Moisture is not having. Okay, these winds are very, very dry winds. These winds are originating from Sahara and moving towards Gulf of Guinea. But the Gulf of Guinea countries is having what type of humidity? High humidity. Whenever the winds are blowing from Sahara towards the Gulf of Guinea, these winds are weeding out all the sorts of high humidity. అక్కడ హ్యూమిడిటీ అంతా మొత్తం వెళ్ళిపోయింది అనుకోండి, దీస్ పీపుల్ విల్ గెట్ ద సలంటరీ కండిషన్స్ ఆర్ స్వెట్ లైక్ కండిషన్స్. నార్మల్గా హ్యూమిడిటీ ఎక్కువ ఉన్నాయి. ఎప్పుడన్నా బీచ్కి వెళ్ళారా? వెన్ ఎవర్ వీఆర్ స్టాండింగ్ ఆన్ ద బీచ్, విత్ ఇన్ నో టైమ్ అవర్ బాడీ ఈస్ గోయింగ్ టు రిలీజ్ ద ఆల్ సార్ట్స్ ఆఫ్ స్వెట్ లైక్ కండిషన్. సో హూ ఎవర్ వెరీ క్లోజ్ టు ద నథింగ్ బట్ ఓషన్, దీస్ పీపుల్ విల్ ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్ high humidity. Wherever the high humidity, what about the sweatness? More sweatness. ఎప్పుడైతే విండ్స్ ఇలా ఫాస్ట్గా వెళ్ళాయనుకోండి, ఇక్కడున్న హ్యూమిడిటీ మొత్తం తీసుకెళ్ళిపోయినట్టు కదా. హ్యూమిడిటీ తీసుకెళ్ళింది అనుకోండి, స్వెట్నెస్ ఉంటుందా? దెర్ ఈస్ నో క్వశ్చన్ ఆఫ్ స్వెట్నెస్. దట్స్ వై దీస్ విండ్స్ ఆర్ కాల్డ్ యాజ్ విచ్ విండ్స్? డాక్టర్ విండ్స్. వై? బికాస్ వాట్ ఈస్ ద రోల్ ఆఫ్ డాక్టర్? ద డాక్టర్ ఈస్ గోయింగ్ టు గివ్ సమ్ రిలీఫ్. ఇఫ్ యు ఆర్ గెటింగ్ ఎనీ పెయిన్, if you are going to the doctor, the person is going to give the injection. Whenever he is giving the injection, whatever the pain is there, can you get the pain? The pain will be subsided. That particular mechanism is called as respite. Okay, no? That's why these Harmattan winds are also known as doctor winds. Intavaraku okay, no? Okay. What is the next winds?